And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. So, this is going to be our episode 8 review for The Last of Us. It's called Left Behind. And I actually have a good crew with me right now. I have Jason Johnson with me. I also have Jamie Lee from In the Front Row. I have Tamika. I have my good friend and co-host Rossi with me. And pretty soon, Dawn from the Multiverse of Geekdom will be coming to join us. Anthony cannot be here tonight or anything like that because of the fact he's going out of town. And we also are missing another person in action as well. Jules is not going to be able to make it for tonight, but they'll all be back for the season finale. But further ado, let's go on ahead. Let's get on with the show. And hey, guys, how's everyone doing tonight?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Hey.
Oh, I mean,
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Exactly, right? Exactly.
boo.
Whatever. But anyways.
Not a fan of Friends, Tamika, hey?
Exactly. I've been knowing her for like 10 years, so we're good.
Boo.
Anyways, annoying Tamika. We're going to be doing our... matter of fact, we're actually going to be doing our Last of Us episode 8 review, and I actually gave you guys the wrong title earlier. It's actually called When We Are in Need, so that's an apology on me. So basically, we have Ellie leaves Joel, who is still recovering, to hunt for food. After shooting a deer, she tracks the wounded animal and encounters a preacher, David, the douchebag, and his fellow hunter, James. She trades the deer for penicillin, and that's pretty much the plot line of this episode. So this is what I liked, and this is actually part of the video game in itself. And this David actually fooled me again in live action adaptation, because I'm like, oh, okay, so we actually have someone that's really nice. Okay, Ellie, you're not going to be alone. He wants you inside the same place as he is and everything. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm falling for this again. I'm like the little kid who's actually getting kidnapped at the park, the guy who has ice cream, and I'm falling for this trick. That's actually how I feel about this.
Tell us more. Get it out. Open that wound. Open that wound, John. Open it.
I like the fact that they left it wide open from where we had from the last episode. I thought that was fantastic. And then, of course, you see Ellie. She's going on ahead, doing shooting a deer. She winds up tracking it. And then here comes David and stuff like that. But also, too, you also see a little bit of background of who David is as a person, because you even see the camp that he's actually at, and they're saying, hey, look, we're running low on supplies. We're running low on food. What are we going to do? So he's like, well, we're going to go out and hunt and see what we can find. And so happens to be, whenever Ellie winds up shooting the deer, that's how they wind up crossing paths. Right. And they're at first, they're like, well, did you shoot it? Did somebody else do this or what? He's like, well, we can just go on and take it because there's somebody else out here. I'm like, okay, so a deer just with a bullet hole just decided just to lay down on the ground for you to have. I guess it was the Lord's way. I don't know. But anyways.
No, I thought what you thought, John. The fact that you forget in the game that this is a bad guy. So I fell for it too. And I was like, when she ran into him, I'm thinking, oh, this is a good guy. I think he's going to help her, because you totally, you fall for it in the show. You forget what goes on in the game. So I thought that too, until you realize, oh, okay, I remember this.
It's that David.
It's that David. Yeah, really creepy. But yeah, so I'm like, just still wondering, if is Joel going to die? Just forgetting that you played the game because you're just so into this show and you forget sometimes.
That's true.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What's some of the stuff that stood out for you guys for the intro of this episode?
Let's see. I think it was the part. Okay. The one change that I thought was really interesting is the fact that Ellie has a full-on rifle instead of a bow and arrow, which looks a lot more menacing,
a lot more threatening. Yep.
Yeah, I was like, no, not crossing her. And I'm just like, honestly, just like the whole attitude of not trusting them was like, okay. It's like, I get it. I wouldn't trust him either.
No, definitely not.
Mm-mm.
What about?
I was the
you?
opposite. Oh, sorry, Tamika. Did you want to go?
Go ahead. I go after you.
I was the opposite. I felt like a little bit trusting, because I was like, well, why would he give her the medicine? Like, why would he waste that? Why is he doing these good things? Like, why didn't he just kill her? He knows that there's only two. He admitted that he knows, you know, they're the ones that killed the raider or attacked his group. So I was like, maybe this guy just wants to not lead anymore. Maybe this guy just wants Joel to lead or Ellie to lead. Like maybe he's sick of the pressures of this bloody cult. I don't know. But I was a little bit trusting of him, I got to say, until we obviously moved down the line. But that first part, I was like, okay, all right.
Especially with the changing of the medicine, like you said, you know, he's going to, you know, and she's so smart and just, you know, ahead of her time that, you know, the way she holds the gun, making sure that, you know, I'm not giving you the deer until you give me the medicine, you know. So, but still that trusting thing, because you forget this guy is not a good guy. But I love, because in the game, you remember being out there, you remember that scene hunting, you remember running into them, you remember the deer. So I love this episode. This was an awesome episode. Yeah, they did a great job in this episode.
Did not trust him.
Anytime
it opens with somebody in a cabin reading Revelations and it's cold, and people look like they're sad, and I'm like, something's going on here. And then the girl's like, well, can I bury my dad? And he was like, no, the ground's cold. And I was like,
no, we already ate.
We'll wait till spring. I like spring.
The bodies. The thing that I was thinking too to me was like, those are going to be flies all over them, maggots, and it's going to be smelling. I'm like, why would you? This guy is very creepy if he wants to go in and bury someone around that time.
Yeah, and I'm sure people like die in the winter, so you know they can dig up the soil somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, I was suspect of him. But, you know, like everyone else, when he started just coming in with, oh, I'm a leader and woe is me and I just want to lead these good people, you know, my first instinct just started to go away. Like, oh, okay, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was too hard on him.
You see, and the way that he spoke to the people and And you know, when you get to that part and you see the people, I mean, it gave me that Jim Jones. You guys remember Jim Jones? Remember that? It had a lot of the Jim Jones. They were depressed. And another thing was, remember they're cooking the food, the so-called venison, but then he walks in with the deer, and you realize, like, I didn't put it together until a little bit later that the food that they were making, they were cooking the people.
Yes.
You know, I didn't realize that until later, but yeah, the whole showing up with the deer and the way everyone looked at each other, and I'm thinking, shouldn't they be excited? You know, he just brought this huge deer, and then you realize, oh, and the serving that he gets, his plate's, you know, full, and you see everyone else just scraping with the little bit that they have, you know, so it's that whole cultish.
And Jones, who cooks, like, who puts raw meat in soup?
Right.
Right. Just kind of said, I was like, oh, I don't know. I thought
definitely agree. Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I definitely agree with you guys, though, because here's the thing. Whenever I think it goes about trying to feed your flock, in a sense, and also about leadership. So they're thinking, okay, well, this guy is helping us and protecting us, so he should get the bigger half than what we do, because he's out there providing for us, hunting for food, and they have no idea what they're eating. They're totally innocent in this and oblivious to what this guy is doing. Because think of it like this: when you're face to face with someone during the daytime and there's a large crowd, you're not your normal self. At night, whenever you're by yourself, that's when your true colors actually come out, basically. Because you're not playing the politics, you're not playing into this or anything like that. So that's why they're really gullible into following him. And even his own, the friend of his and everything is like, are you sure you're going to be okay with me leaving you here with her? And he goes, yes, get the penicillin and don't tell anyone about this. And she goes, if one false move, I know. I'll get a bullet in between my eyes. I know. I gotcha. And, you know, it just goes to show you, too, where he even said, I didn't ask to be a leader. They just went on ahead and tell me that I needed to be a leader because I had leader-like skills. And then he's trying to point to Ellie the same way that the drill sergeant pointed out to her. You have leadership skills. You can actually do more than what you're told to do.
Right.
And so he sees the same thing in her. So he's just using her as a way of actually trying to use her.
Right.
And so he goes, well, can we go on ahead and get a fire going? So they wind up getting the fire going. And he says, I don't believe in coincidences.
Right.
And she goes, come on. You really don't believe that, right? Because, well, for instance, there was this guy and this girl who wound up killing this other person. And this person actually this person also had a daughter. And you know what? He also had a little girl with him.
Right.
You see? I don't believe in coincidences. And all of a sudden you see the change. You see the shift and change happen. It's like, oh, crap.
Right.
This guy is putting on a show. And she was at first was probably believing him a little bit, but at the same time not believing him.
I think the scene where he's, you know, the way he intimidates his flock, and the little girl who's like, you know, I want them both dead. You should kill them both. And you're thinking at the time, you know, well, he's going to agree because that's what he's going to do. But the way that he makes an example out of her and slaps the shit out of her, the little girl, and everyone is just like, they're fearful. And another thing is the guys that he's commanding, you notice that they all have guns. He doesn't have a gun all the time. The fact that they could have taken him out at any time, they all had rifles and they still followed him, and he had no firearm. Really, there's times where you could put a headshot. He was in front of them, and they still just that whole leadership. And I'm gonna follow him, even though he could have been taken out at any time. You know, so you know if that were like the real world scenario, people, you know, the whole Walking Dead thing where people get into tribes and you know, you have one that ends up being a leader because they pick them, but there's many times where they could get out of it. They just choose not to because they rely on him so much, which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it goes to show that they can't fend for themselves. Go ahead.
Right.
Well, also it's that cult personality.
Right.
Like when we were talking about Jim Jones and all these people, you would think, you know, somebody could have just overtaken Jim Jones or these people, but I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into the human psyche, but it is something about we need to follow each other. It's something in us that wants to follow.
Right.
Sometimes we want to leave, but sometimes we want to follow. And I don't know if it's the fake confidence this guy has or charisma, but like you said, they had guns and they could have shot him. And
but they probably are thinking like, why would I want this pressure? Why would I want this responsibility of feeding, of looking after 30 people or however many people were there? Like this guy's ballsy enough, even though it's totally wrong that they're eating humans. I'm not denying that, but this guy's got the guts. Let's just say, pun intended. This guy's got the guts to make the calls to say, well, it's either we eat this or we die. You know, so he's sort of making, I mean, he's wrong and he's an evil person, but at the same time, like, what are they going to do? You know, are they prepared to stand up and make a choice or be a leader? Probably not. So
as you guys said that, it's funny, as you guys said that, the best moment I could think of is when they're about to kill Ellie because he's not around.
Right.
As soon as he shows up, they're just like,
with rifles in their hands, like,
and they're still, and I'm just like, they're still pointing at her. I'm just like, it would be so easy to just kind of get it over with.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're just like, they were like frozen. I was like, wow, this is.
Yeah.
That just shows you how much of a presence this guy has over them, and the anxiety that you have when you have a leader like this, where they see them as the hero in their eyes. And because of the fact that you're providing food, you're providing shelter, you're providing all this stuff for them. And then as soon as he's gone, that's going to be taken away and they're going to be on their own again. And they don't know how to survive on their own because of the fact that relying on that one person. And as soon as he's gone, either the flock is going to end up splitting or they're going to wind up dying.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the two choices that I see whenever it comes down to this. But
well, I think too, it leads a lot into what he says to her, which is, I see that violence in your heart because I have it. And I think all of those moments with him really kind of nail that home. Like, yeah, these people are scared of this dude because he's crazy.
Yes.
He is crazy. So, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, he's really good in this episode too. Man. The guy is intense. Super intense.
I love the fact that when they show how Ellie is now, she has to be the protector. She has to protect Joel. So when she, goes back to Joel and knowing that they're going to end up being after her when she sees them coming at a certain point, the way that she goes, puts the knife on Joel's chest and try to wake him up and tell him, if they come down here, you protect yourself. And I love that because her strength comes out, like everything about her, just and also you think about what has she gone through. We know she's gone through a lot way before this. So she's been through this, she's done this, and I just thought it was awesome how she gets on a horse. She, takes their attention to something else, and the way he fucking shot the horse and just knocks her out. Like you were saying, Jason, with the guns, and they could have killed her at any time. But I love that. And I forgot what happened in the game, but I was just like, oh my gosh, what about Joel?
I was going to say this from
you know what I mean?
This is right from the game, because this part of the game you play as her.
Right.
In this episode, you're playing as her. So it's really well done the way they incorporate the game in this. I know we say it every week, but it's insane.
It's very awesome on how they handle the property because of the way they do it. And I was geeked out over the fact that they didn't really change anything. At first, I thought they were going to do that because of the way that, James is actually talking to her. And then whenever he does that switch, I'm like, okay, never mind. They're not changing anything.
Right.
This is just the mask that James has that he's wearing with her, just like how he wears a mask, which is basically what he's doing to the people at the camp. So he's trying to do that with her. So I'm like, okay, so they're not. So it's actually true to the adaptation of the video game, which is something I do appreciate. And then another thing that I want to mention is this. Okay, so you wind up seeing them go and look for Ellie, and do you think that they would have went into the houses? Because it looked like that they were just, just walking along, not even going in the houses.
Yeah.
Which I found really unusual, because if I was looking for someone, I would be going into different houses.
Yeah, they're just like canvassing the streets.
There's only like 5 of them.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of houses in that little town. They could have just went from house to house.
Hey, Taco.
And just got away from them the whole time. I mean, well, obviously Joel couldn't, but if she could have led them away from that house, she could have just ducked around. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, eventually there was only 3 that he had to take out. So it's like, man, that's not a lot of people. And I think they just did that, John, to cut time because like clearly they went into the houses and they're not going to show you going into everyone and it being empty in like a 40-minute episode. But that was really nerve-wracking, I reckon. Hey, like when they were going in, I just kept thinking like, oh fuck, are they going to kidnap? Oh my god, are they going to kidnap Joel and take him back to Joel? I thought they might do something to Joel and take him back to the settlement and torture him, or like I didn't know what was going to happen, but it was very nerve-wracking. That scene.
Yeah, it was. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that was nerve-wracking, and also just seeing Joel just rise up and be a badass. And I was like, what kind of penicillin is that?
I think there's more adrenaline. I think there's more adrenaline than
one day penicillin, and he's up killing people. And we need that on the shelves. Okay. We need to hurry up and get that in the shelves because that was awesome. And just watching the after show, like you guys were saying, that everything came from the game, except I forgot the leader's name, but it kind of extended the conversation a little bit with him in some areas, just to give him a little bit of I don't want to say a backstory, but I guess to put the audience at ease a little bit to not know, oh, this guy, something's up with him.
And that's
I
something
never
I want
trust a person like that in a show or anything, a movie. I never trust a person like him.
It was the opening, wasn't it? It was the opening.
Right.
See?
Right. But like Taco said, we finally got the video game Joel, because I like the fact that they finally gave it to us in the 8th episode and let it slowly build. Because and then I remember when Taco and all of us were talking about, did we play this game wrong? Because the fact that I don't have the patience to be stealthy. I just go ahead and go straight forward and just decide to kill people. But because I don't have time for that. But then you see video game Joel wake up and just goes ahead and just goes ham on everybody. I'm like, yes, this is the Joel I want. This is the Joel I've been waiting for 8 episodes.
I wonder if they did that though, because the whole time till this point, he's trying to act like he doesn't care.
Right.
We know he does, but this episode, we know he cares at this. Like now, we know he's basically said it. So I'm wondering if maybe they did it that way for that reason. Waited till this episode where we finally get that brutal Joel because he's just like, no, this is my daughter.
Right.
And I'll kill anybody in front of me.
And that's something that I talked to my coworker about today. I was like, there's that counterbalance of where Joel once was. It's like, oh, you're just luggage. I'm not going to go on ahead. I don't really care about you. And then it goes into this whole entire journey where, he may feel like that she's a burden because of the stuff that he has to do. But then that's a parent's job, is to carry the burdens of a child.
Right.
So therefore, you have that counterbalance because she's the light into his darkness and he's the light into her darkness.
Right.
And it both counteracts together. And that's something that I really loved about it. And she was like, you know what? I didn't think about that. I said, I said, if you actually think about the counterbalance of it and about how much they need each other and how much Joel said, well, she's just baggage or luggage and that's it. And then he goes into wanting to just kill everybody because they took her. Right. Now you have Joel, who's actually wanting to find her and fight for her.
And also, this is sorry, John. Also, when he finally rescues her, just speeding it along, just jumping around. Remember, he calls her baby girl. When she was scared, and that alone that's where they were. That's his daughter. Him getting to that point to call another little girl baby girl when he lost his daughter the way that he did, because remember, he protected himself against that. And so him saying that just meant everything. And I love that they did that, because that's where they were. That was his daughter at that point.
Definitely. I like what Taco says, though, too. He said, I also think since Ellie wasn't there, he could go full brutal.
Right.
And I definitely agree with that, because he's very reserved in the other episodes when he's around her. So when she's not around, to where she doesn't see how violent he is, then he can go on ahead and do what he needs to do. Although she did see him snap one time out of the first episode, and that was it. But she didn't really get to see him go ham on these other people like he would normally do.
Yeah. I think that he was relentless because of the fact that he'd failed again. Like, he'd told her he loved her this time. Well, he didn't necessarily say that. That's just me playing with my head, because that's what I want to hear. But when she said to him I think it was the last episode, whenever they're at the farm, or the safe house, whatever you call it, I call it sanctuary. Whenever they were there, and she's like, "Do you care about me at all?" She was really frustrated. And he's like, "Of course I do." Like that moment there, that shit, he does care. Okay. So from that episode, I feel like, there was the connection there. And so he said, he fails again, 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 even in his dreams, he just fails. And it was that sort of fear of, I've lost her. Like, I stuffed up. I've failed, because really she's gone. He doesn't know if he's going to get her back. Yeah. So I think it was that too, that he's like just relentless, like ruthless. Like, I didn't give a crap. Like, I need to find my girl. That's how I took it. Yes, John, I'm trying really hard. I'm doing my best. Sorry, I said crap.
Well, I will say too, about what Taco said about David too, is I didn't really see that coming at the end. Did anybody else? Because he's not really like that in the game. He's just more crazy in the game, but he's like, I like when you should know by now, I like the struggle. That was a little weird. It just didn't feel earned, I guess, by that character. You know what I mean? Because I saw when they were touching hands in the when she was in the cell, I kind of was like, that's a little weird. But I thought maybe that was just him connecting, trying to connect with her. But then when that happened, I was like, yeah, that's just a weird turn for him. I didn't see that coming. I thought it was more just him wanting, like he said, somebody to be able to just kill people,
right?
And kind of groomed to be his successor almost, So it was a weird turn for him.
Well, he said that he was a teacher, in his backstory. Like, I'm a teacher. And what are you laughing at? I'm trying to be serious.
Get out of this house.
In the gutter. See,
that's a teacher and a preacher.
And he said he was a teacher too. He said before all this, I was a teacher. And I was like, okay. And then when he was, talking about, I have violence in my heart too. And I was thinking, oh man, this guy must have been a serial killer. or something.
I definitely got more of that vibe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he got serial killer all over him. Especially when we was talking about the courtesans or whatever, however you pronounce it, and then just
Right.
how they connect. And I was like, this guy's a serial killer. Get out of there, girl. Let's go.
Well, let's now focus on the fact that now Ellie's inside the jail cell,
Yes.
and now she's like, well, you have leadership skills. You can do this. And I like how she winds up taking a bite out of his hand.
Yes.
And then he goes, that's
Oh,
it.
yes.
I had enough of this. And wants to go on ahead. He takes her out of the cell, wanted to chop her up. And he goes, you mean to tell me you're going to chop me up? And this is like before she winds up doing this. You mean to tell me you want to chop me up into like little pieces and feed me to everybody else? It's like how you've been doing.
Right.
And he's just like, you know what? I like how you said it. Chopping up into little pieces. And then all of a sudden he turns into a serial killer, like Dawn said, on that level too. That's also something because of the fact that I think the reason why he said that, well, if I can't use her and then she's going to fight me on this, I might as well just use her for food at this point.
And the way he
at that
threatens
point, he
her,
was done with her. Yeah, at that point, he was done.
Yeah.
and the way that he threatens her with, I'm going to go tell the other people. Because she knows that they want, her because of what she did, her and Joel. And so threatening her with, now I'm going to let them know, I got you and who you are and you're going to be dead, So using that, storming out, and then coming back in when she, bites his hand or breaks his hand when like Dawn said, they were touching hands. And that was really creepy how they did that. But telling on her, letting her know, you're not going to be my little pupil. Like, I'm going to feed you now. Because she notices that ear that's in that neck, on the ground there. And I remember her looking at it and she's just staring at it when she realizes, oh my God, they're food. We're food. And then I realized, oh, so that's what they were eating. And that's why they reacted the way they did when he brought the deer in and everyone looked like, what are we eating? So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one little comment that the lady made. Sorry, the comment that the lady makes when the guy brings the bucket of meat in. And she's like, what is it? He's like, it's just deer.
Right.
And little things like that you don't catch at the moment, but you're like, oh, wow, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
You see, I was thinking on the other hand, maybe it was like leftover deer meat or something like that at first.
Right. Yep.
So that was my first intent was, okay, well, maybe it's just leftover food. And then once you find out, oh, these people are cannibals. And they don't even know they're cannibals, but they're cannibals. Right. And then you have Joel snooping around at this point, and then you finally see the decapitated heads. You see them wrapped up in Dexter-like wrappings. And then you're like, and then Joel is even like, okay, I gotta find her. And then at that point, she's actually on the table getting ready to, meet her end.
Right.
And then she goes, wait, I'm not infected. I'm not infected. And the guy's like, what do you mean you're not infected? And she goes, look at my effing arm. Look. And then he goes, this is a trick. There's no way. Yeah. He goes, you would have been turned hours ago. And next thing you know she takes the meat cleaver and winds up stabbing it and winds up taking the meat cleaver to his buddy and killing him by stabbing him in the artery.
By the way.
Yeah, I was going to point that out too.
The guy that played his buddy, his right-hand man, was the guy that played Joel in the game. I was like, oh, that's so cool.
That was so good.
Wow.
I didn't know it was him.
Know that.
Yeah,
awesome.
I watched the after episode thing.
Yep, me too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't know it was him either, but when they shot, I was like, oh, that's so awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, John. I didn't mean to.
No, man. No, I was just trying to let someone else talk a little bit too, just to get their perspectives out though too.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think that once that winds up happening, you see Ellie fighting, and then you get this one scene where they go over to where the bar is, and then she accidentally sets it up on fire because I forgot what sets it on fire between them fighting.
That remember she had
she
that
threw
piece of
something
wood
at
with
him,
her.
and I can't remember what it was.
That piece of wood that was still kind of lit fire.
Oh yeah,
She threw that at him, and hit the curtains. Yeah.
And then that's when that's when she winds up just stabbing him over and over and over again.
Oh, man.
Right.
And that was brutal. But this is what I want. This is what I told my coworker too. Was this? I like the fact that she didn't play the dazzle in distress, and then Joel has to go in and save her.
Yep.
They both wind up showing their strengths when they were away from each other.
Yes.
So you have a moment for Joel where the guys go, hell yes, this is what we've been waiting for.
Right.
This is the video game Joel that we've been wanting. Then you have Ellie, who's then it was like, okay, we got the video game Ellie that we played, that we know of how vicious she can be on her own, and we got that without having a guy to save her.
Right.
And that's something that I really loved about it. And I remember when behind the scenes stuff, he goes, yeah, you know how most guys go on ahead and save the dazzle and distress? Yeah, that's not going to happen here. And I loved it. I love the fact that they didn't do that.
Right.
Well, just that shot alone of her from kind of, underneath of her, looking up, and her just coming down with that knife. It's like, man, it's a brutal. It's so well shot though.
Right.
But she is lost it at that point.
Oh yeah.
And when he's on her, when he's on top of her, and the way she cries, you see like she's a little girl, like that comes out just the way that she's laying there and crying. And then of course when she takes over, like he said, I see the killer in you. You see that she goes ham on him, going nuts on him. And I love that they showed her, like you said, John, the video game Ellie that we all know. So that was a great ending of that episode, and her running out, and again Joel just kind of grabbing her and her freaking out when he grabs her and just saying, baby girl, I got you, basically. And yeah, that was just beautiful.
Man, that scene is I cried, man. I was so I was so just them embracing and him wrapping the jacket around her. I mean, it's exactly, and they don't have to say a word. It's so great,
right?
So well done. Well, when you get somebody like Pedro Pascal and what is her name, man? She's great.
Bella Ramsey.
Yeah, Bella Ramsey.
Yeah. Well, Pedro can call me baby girl anytime.
Oh, mate. Oh, mate.
Baby girl. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Our DMs, Tamika, were like,
thank you.
I feel safe when he's like that, right?
Please hold me. Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
When in need, isn't that what they say? Well, I'm in need,
yes,
baby.
I'm in need. It's cold and the snow is here. Hold me.
Oh, gosh.
But in the, like Don was saying, you watched the after show in the game, which I need to hurry up and just go out and buy it.
Yes, you do.
I'm sick of you guys knowing everything.
At least watch the YouTube of it. You can watch like the story, the cutscenes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, but I want to experience it where I get killed 500 times. And I'm like,
you take your time, Tamika. Just play a little bit, come back to it. That's what I did. I would play a little bit when I got stuck in the school with the bloater. I was there for weeks on end because I used all my ammo and I had to reload a save.
That first clicker scene going through, trying to sneak through, it took me 100 times. That took me 100 times to get through. I mean, it's over and over.
It takes some time to get through it, but you do get through it. But you just got to do a little bit at a time, come back to it, and that's how I did it. It took me a long time to finish.
When they were talking about it on the after show, just that scene in the game with the creepy leader guy. Pedophile guy is just the way that he could crouch down and follow you and you're going in the opposite direction, and I was like, oh my god, that is so creepy. I don't think I ever seen anything like that in the game where the predator is trying to hunt you as well, and you're trying to hunt him.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I hated that part of the game. I failed so many times. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go to the left. There you are. But also, I'm kind of glad how they played off that with the camera angles. I was like, I remember that. Oh, you're hiding. I wasn't able to hide like that.
Right.
Jealous.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic episode. It felt like to me like a Wild Wild West kind of episode where you have the person going into town that he doesn't know anything about, and to try and rescue the daughter that he always wanted to have back in his life again. This episode is probably one of my favorites that ranks up there with the rest of this show. I cannot rank individual episodes for this. I think every episode is very solid.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think this is a
It's
fantastic
weird
show.
because I think every episode, everybody said this is my favorite episode. This is my favorite. It
Yes.
really, it's weird. It's how it gets better. Yeah.
I don't think this was my favorite only because of the content of the pedophile rapists.
In saying that, though, it was my favorite performance of Bella because I thought
It was.
Ellie from Bella.
It was.
Because,
in
yeah,
the game,
like just
Joel comes in and he rescues her from the
and
apple
I just
shell.
think that's so much better that in this, like I was literally sitting there going, like, come on, Joel, like please hurry up, like please come before he does whatever he does. And it was so good to have her do it herself, you know, like that was so empowering as, even though she's only a young woman, as a woman to be like, yes, you can fight back, you can, you know, like he's stronger than you, he's bigger than you, but you can still win, you know. And she won. So I mean maybe not in the long run because it's like, anyway, the trauma from it is not good, but anyway, it was empowering that she saved herself instead of just Joel saving the damsel in distress, I guess.
And it's Women's History Month too, so
I mean, in that situation too. I mean, by the time he would find her in realistic terms, it would be over. So she has to save herself in that situation, I think.
Oh yeah.
Just for the reality of the situation. But man, I think these last two episodes actually, even though she's been in every episode, obviously, she's really got the time to shine, and she's great. She's great. She reminds me a lot of 11 from
Stranger Things,
early Stranger, because she's just young. We don't know who she, not that we don't know who she, but just that up and coming talent that you can just see it. She's just naturally good at this.
That's
So
definitely
natural. Yeah.
But does anybody else have any final words as far as this episode goes or anything?
This episode had the funniest part in it. I will say that. When she lifts up the garage door and the horse is in the garage. That is hilarious to me. I don't know why, but I laughed so hard at that. There's just a horse in the garage hanging out there. That's funny.
That's where you put your vehicles on.
It's a typical day in the South for us. So, I mean.
In the apocalypse, yes.
Yeah, right.
Horses survive. Yeah.
I just thought it was funny. He was in the garage. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah. If I see a zombie horse, that would be awesome.
Okay, well, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and close out. With
it's only one more show, everybody. It's only one more show.
Right.
Exactly. But okay, so we're definitely enjoying this show, and we got one more episode left over after this. And one Marley Lee Mingo, wonderful, you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for watching the show. I'm glad that you enjoy it. Please come back next Wednesday when we go on ahead and review the last episode of The Last of Us. We're gonna all be back on here. Anthony will be back. We'll have Jules back, and then we'll have another podcast guest with us. And is that the Look Back Cinema podcast? I think that's actually how you say it. Zoe will be on the show with us. It's going to be a fantastic show, and it's just going to be a sad time because it's going to be our last episode together, but we'll be back. But here's the good news is we're going to be doing individual stuff with each other and things like that within this universe that we have. So that's one of the best things about this. So with that being said, Rossi and I will be going live in a few minutes for a menu review.
Yes.
But Jamie, Dawn, do you guys have anything going on as far as your channels go?
Okay. I'm going to be watching Warrior this week. So many people have told me to watch it. I had a look at the picture and it was like Tom Hardy practically naked, fully oiled up. So I was like, okay, don't care what the plot is. I'm in, I'm doing it.
Yes.
But apparently it's actually like not being the
I
first
take my
female.
thumbs down. I had to take my thumbs away for a minute because I didn't know you were going with the naked part. So I was giving you a thumbs.
You were like, yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay, John.
No, but on a serious note, it's supposed to be really, really good. And I've never watched it, so I'm going to watch that, review that, and then I keep saying every week, like, oh, I've done my Gotham Knights thing, but I wasn't actually allowed to post it. But next week, I'm definitely allowed to post it, so definitely that will be coming out. And that's about it for me.
Okay,
Cool.
What about for you, Don?
Yeah, no, you guys can find me at the Multiverse of Geekdom. About ready to get hop onto my Jedi Academy show where we're going to be talking about Mandalorian episode 2. Oh man, great episode!
Baby
Can't
Yo-Yo.
wait to talk about that. Yes.
Baby Yo-Yo.
So yeah, but check us out. We have a lot of shows on there, and we just made a big announcement. John is in the league also. We have a league now. It is called the Titans of the Turf. So please look out for that, guys. It's very interesting. It's basically 7-on-7 fantasy character football. You pick your team, and then D&D style play the game out.
Nice.
So it's
very fun. It's very entertaining. I love it. Matter of fact, I'll be joining them on Sunday and everything. Do you want to give a time on what time that would be?
Well, I actually forgot that Anthony was going to be out of town this weekend, so it will be the following weekend. We have to make some corrections on that, but yes.
Okay, gotcha.
2 Sundays. Yep, 2 Sundays from now it will be the draft, the live draft. So it'll be fun.
Well, that's everything as far as this channel goes. Tamika will be back again with me Friday reviewing John Wick Chapter 2. And so we're going to do that at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And Abby, if you're still watching this, DM me because I know that you and your mom love John Wick. So hit me up in the DMs and we'll work something out. And always until next time, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. Can't wait to do this again. Thank you, Jason. I do appreciate you joining me. I appreciate you, Jamie, Don, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
And always until next time, guys. Bye-bye.